When Shasha was little, she loved to play the game called Why with me. And she would try to go, how many times could I ask why? And Daddy would have an answer. And she loved to say, why? And I'd give her an answer. Why? I'd give her an answer. Why? I'd give her an answer. She loved to play that game. But I never was impatient with her. I just recognized that that's how we learn. To be honest, sometimes I do that with God. Not as a game, but because I don't understand. And I want to understand. Sometimes we ask God why. Sometimes there are no answers for the whys. There's just an ugly devil in the world. And sometimes, if we study, there are answers. Now here's a question. Why does God allow false prophets? I mean, please, why would God purposely allow people among us who are false prophets? Deuteronomy 13, beginning with verse 1. Suppose there are prophets among you, or those who dream dreams about the future, and they promise you signs or miracles, and they predicted signs and miracles occur. They say, hey, it really happens. If they then say, come and let us worship other gods, gods you have not known, do not listen to them. The Lord your God is testing you to see if you truly love him with all your heart and with all your soul. There are times false prophets come along, and it looks like they're the real deal. I mean, what they say comes to pass. And then they want to lead you away from God. God says, I want you to understand why I allow that. I want to see if you really, truly love me with all your heart and with all your soul. Are you just hanging around me because it's the end thing to do, or do you truly love me? If you see something new, will you follow it, or do you truly love me? Deuteronomy 13, verse 4. Serve the Lord your God and fear him alone. Obey his commands. Listen to his voice and cling to him. He said, all right, do you truly love me? Are you really going to serve me only? Are you really going to respect me only? Are you really going to obey my commands only? Are you really going to listen to my voice only? Are you really going to cling to me, God says? Or if you see a better deal someplace, will you go with that? Will you go with some demon god that seems to have a little bit of power? Now, brothers and sisters, sometimes God lets false prophets among us because he's testing our hearts. Will we go with what looks like a good deal? Or do we truly love him and want to serve him alone? Now, the thing you have to remember about false prophets is they always encourage rebellion. Deuteronomy 13, verse 5. The false prophets are visionaries who try to lead you astray. So notice number one, they lead you astray, must be put to death, for they encourage rebellion against the Lord your God, who redeemed you from slavery and brought you out of the land of Egypt, since they try to lead you astray from the way the Lord your God commanded you to live. Twice now he says, lead you astray. So false prophets that come along and it looks like, they really do see the future. It looks like their prophecies really do happen. So you start to follow them and then they say, now, God's really not the only God. There's this other God that you can serve, that you don't have to live a holy life. You can have this other God and there's no bowels with this other God. They lead you astray and they encourage rebellion against God. So, beloved, in these days where we see false prophets arising all over the world, learn. It doesn't matter what they say if it's true or not. What matters is, what direction do they lead you in? Do they lead you closer to God, or do they lead you astray? Do they lead you to obey God, or do they lead you in rebellion against God? So when you're looking at false prophets, don't just look at, are their words true? Look at, where are they taking me?